Hello and welcome to Hardie Party of Five and a Half.
Well, hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
I haven't seen you since we walked down the hallway to come to the room.
That's right.
It's been a long time.
You look
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The lighting's different in here.
Oh, yeah. The lighting is always good on you, babe.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So let's go back to when the kids were little and all the way till now. You and Alex really have watched one show together. What is it?
Is it Backyardigans?
No, I love the Backyardigans, but that is not it. Nobody beats Uniqua in a sing-off or a dance-off or anything. She's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a Uniqua song that comes to mind?
My favorite. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right in the range, let's go right in the range. Woo!
That was very good, Rebecca.
It was my favorite episode of the Backyardigans.
I love that falsetto.
Right. That's not what I'm talking about, though. So what am I talking about?
You're talking about like something we listened to for a long time and still watch.
Hmm?
I would say you're talking about Good Mythical Morning.
That's right.
With
Good
Rhett and Link.
Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link.
Yep.
What is Good Mythical Morning?
Good Mythical Morning is a YouTube show. And basically how they started was just trying trying crazy foods and trying not to spit them out. Is really how it got started.
Okay.
It's two friends from North Carolina were working at like IBM, I think, together. And they were bored doing it. And they're like, we need to do something creative.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking about with our guest today is creators got to create. So they were in a dead end job for them because they wanted to create and do things that you can't do in a regular job. So now basically they sit around and taste food and make a lot of money.
Can we do that?
Well, we've got 2 out of 3. We're sitting around and we taste food,
yeah.
but we're not making a lot of money.
Well, we need to work on that third bonus.
We do.
Yes. And today on the show, we have a guy that comes straight out of Good Mythical Morning. His name is Jordan Morris, but known to Good Mythical Morning fans as Cotton Candy Randy.
Who's a very controversial figure. But,
he is?
Oh, yeah. Like even Jordan mentions it. Some people really love Cotton Candy Randy and some people don't really like him. Cotton Candy Randy is kind of an abrasive personality. So he's hard to love.
Right.
But once you do love him, you can't get enough of him.
You can't get enough of him. And there's so much more to him, right?
Oh yeah. He's a writer, producer, podcaster. He's writing comic books and animated stuff. And
You're not gonna believe it.
It's amazing.
Yes. Creative people blow my mind.
Yep.
So here you go. Interview with Cotton Candy Randy, Jordan Morris. Jordan, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us today.
Oh yeah, thank you.
We can't wait to dive into some things with you. You've got a bunch of cool things on your plate.
Thanks. Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell us about Jordan. Where are you from? Did you grow up?
So I was born in Beaumont, Texas, but I did most of my growing up in Orange County, California.
Okay.
Home of Disneyland and a lot of cheesecake factories.
Wait, is that where it started?
Sorry, say again?
Cheesecake Factory started in...
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what the corporate history of Cheesecake Factory is. I just know that it was like a huge deal when it came to our town. Like that was, birthday dinner spot. That was like dinner before prom spot.
Yes.
Yes, one of the horniest factories, the Cheesecake Factory. If you really want to set the mood for a magical night, you take her to the factory.
Before all that, yeah.
Of course. And I definitely remember like it popping up and then them being everywhere and that feeling like the fanciest, most fun night out ever.
Yeah. So did you go to high school in Beaumont?
No, so we moved to Orange County when I was like 3. So like with Beaumont, I was born there, and my mom's family is back there. So we would do like a lot of our summer vacations in kind of that area, South Texas. So I have like an attachment to it, but I don't really remember. Growing up there at all.
Next to like Port Neches, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I think they have like the big football, they have like a big football crowd there, like high school.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. That is definitely like college and high school football country.
Yeah. I think
went
just played in the championships at like AT&T Stadium here. Like I think through their division up to there anyways.
I believe you.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I don't know why I know that.
He went from country to Cheesecake Factory.
To Cheesecake Country.
Right.
Yeah. And
so yeah, so I grew up in Orange County and then went to college at UC Santa Cruz, which is like Northern California. And kind of like up there, I started doing like, you know, the college improv group, and I had a little like college radio show. And that's kind of when I started doing like, you know, my own kind of like creative stuff and comedy stuff, and then moved to LA after college and started working in the biz.
Wow.
So as a kid and during your youth, what are some of the movies and shows that kind of inspired you that you kind of go, man, I want to do that?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I was a big Simpsons kid. I was a huge, you know, and still consider myself to be a 40-year-old Simpsons kid. And yeah, so we like taped them all off TV. I like watched the VHS tapes until they wore out. I like memorized them. Yeah, like that was a big social currency thing growing up, is like who could quote the most Simpsons. And so, you know, we would like you know, meet on the playground and say like, my son is also named Bort, and then laugh and laugh and laugh. So the Simpsons, and like a little bit later, like you know, some of the kind of like alternative comedy-y stuff that was running on Comedy Central. So like Mystery Science Theater 3000 was huge for me. Yeah. And yeah, kind of like cemented my love of watching you know, not great movies for the purpose of, you know, goofing on them. And like Kids in the Hall was kind of like doing their reruns, the Canadian sketch comedy show from the 80s and 90s. So that was a huge one for me. Yeah, that was kind of the TV I was watching. And then you know, with also a little like, so I guess I was a comedy nerd, you know, maybe the you know, first and foremost a comedy nerd, and then like you know, a sprinkling of like Star Wars, Star Trek The Next Generation, and like a lot of comics.
Yeah, yeah. So we're both creative people. I'm a hairdresser, he's a graphic artist.
Yeah, awesome.
When did you realize that you were a creative and that you just needed to be in that profession? I know like sometimes when he gets in the corporate world a lot with his job, he's got to like sit and draw for a little bit, or he's got to like write or something. He's got to like let that out somewhere.
To do something I like instead of something someone else likes, you know?
Of course, totally. Yeah, so important.
When did you realize that about yourself, that you were like, I'm creative and this is what I've got to do with my life?
Yeah, so I mean, as like a comedy loving kid, I definitely wanted to like be in the high school plays. I definitely wanted to be in the high school plays and like be funny in those. Like that was very fun to me. But I didn't like know any creative adults. Like all the adults I knew like just had non-creative adult jobs.
Yeah. Boring.
Yeah, like my you know, my mom was a nurse, and you know, my like dad worked for a company that sold pregnancy tests. So like we didn't really have any like, I guess my dad had a brother who like kind of helped plan like corporate events, and so he was like a little bit creative. But yeah, like the idea of doing it for a job was really foreign to me.
Yeah.
I think like when I was a kid, I thought maybe I would be like an English teacher or a drama teacher or something like that, which I mean still might happen and probably would be really, really cool. But yeah, so I think that was kind of like what I had planned for myself as a kid. And then when I got to college, you know, started learning a little bit more about like comedy as a business, or like writing as a business. And so I had a college sketch group. We were called Prank the Dean, and we did sketch comedy in the dining halls.
And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we were hot. We were hot at the Porter Dining Hall at UC Santa Cruz. We had some
you get free Jello, and
you get free Jello. Yeah, exactly. You get to scan a friend in without losing a meal point. A lot of perks. A lot of perks to performing comedy in a dining hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we and yeah, so that group got asked to do shows at San Francisco Sketch Fest, which is still a comedy festival that I still do stuff at. But they were like, you know, in their early days when it was just, you know, this festival now is like a month-long thing with, you know, 50 shows. But when it started, it was just kind of like a weekend at some littler theaters around San Francisco. And our group got to perform, and through that, I started to like meet people who like were working in the business. And then, you know, kind of through that, I'm like, okay, these people are doing it. And what did they do? So, you know, it usually involves some version of like, okay, you like move to LA or New York and you get some like lower level jobs, and then you move up into higher level jobs. And, you know, so I kind of started to learn about the practical stuff. And yeah, just kind of thought I would give it a shot. I just loved doing it. And, you know, it started to seem more achievable after that. So
okay, so rewind 1 second. Would you have like a memorable high school drama that you were in that you loved?
This is a great question. I slayed in our production of Noises Off. Fucking killed. I was the old man. There's like so Noises Off is like a classic like play within a play. It's a farce, so there's a lot of like slamming doors and, you know, like misunderstandings. And yeah, so there's a drunk old man character who doesn't have that much to do, but like you can come on, do a little voice, and really get some laughs. I think I had a British accent, even though the character didn't call for it, just because I like loved doing voices, and I'm sure I fucking.
You have a whole backstory for him that nobody knew about.
Yeah. Right? Yes. Yeah. I wrote his whole history. Grew up in the Great Depression, and you know, his parents wanted him to work in a steel mill, but he said, no, I'm going to be an actor. Anyway, yeah, so I probably, you know, put a little too much time and effort into it. But yeah, that was like a really fun memory, and definitely like
that's awesome.
The start of me kind of thinking about like, oh, okay, like what if I wanted to do more of this? Like what does one do? So yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
So you wanted to be on stage, so do you like that instant gratification? And is that different when you're writing a lot now? So how do you balance that? Because as a comedian, I would think you want that instant gratification of the audience reacting. So how is it when you're writing? How do you know when it's funny and not funny? And
yeah, no feedback.
Yeah, right. So when I first moved to LA, I was doing a lot of like sketch and improv. And I tried a little bit of stand-up. I don't think I was great at it, but I like kind of tried that. And like did some kind of on-camera stuff for some of my like early jobs. And I liked it, and I still like it. Like occasionally I will do an on-camera thing or a live thing, and I still really have fun with it. But the stuff that felt the best to me was writing stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it really just like it thrilled me in a way that like live performing didn't. And I don't know, I kind of like that it's a mental exercise, and I like it's something you can kind of sit with and, you know, improve over various iterations. So yeah, that's just kind of something that I learned about myself. It's like I just loved the writing part of it so much, and the performing part of it was very fun, and, you know, still is. But yeah, I don't know, it kind of just like doesn't thrill me like writing does. And I know it does for some people. Like for some people that like on stage in front of an audience, performing, being spontaneous, getting laughs is just like so amazing. And like I realized that wasn't quite how I felt about it. So yeah, just kind of in the interest of focusing a little bit, decided to stop doing as many like on-camera things or live things, and just kind of focus on writing a little bit, career-wise. So yeah.
So in that writing process, do you like wanting to get away from everyone and going to a dark place or a lonely place to write, or do you like go to a busy place to take notes about people and people watch? Is it a combination of that, or is it just what's your creative process when you're writing?
Yeah, so I love group creativity. I love like being in a writer's room. I think that is the most fun place to write. I think kind of serves my skill set well. Yeah, and I just love like one-upping each other and making each other laugh, and you know, like everybody kind of contributing ideas. So that to me is my favorite. But you know, like obviously that is not every job you will get. Yeah, so I just kind of like, I like to, you know, just have a nice little space of my home for writing. I have an office now, which is kind of nice. So yeah, I just have an office, and you're seeing it now in the background of Zoom. So yeah, I just, you know, try and put up some art that I like and have some plants and just kind of a nice vibe, have a nice window. Yeah, so I think that that is where I do a lot of my like solo writing.
Yeah, cool. So we went to LA over Christmas, like right before.
Cool.
We punched in.
Remind me where y'all are.
Just south of Fort Worth.
Oh, cool, great. Okay.
Yeah, so we're in Texas. So we went out to LA at Christmas time. Our youngest son in particular, who he says you should please follow him on Instagram.
No pressure.
No pressure. He is the biggest Good Mythical Morning freak ever. Him and his
nice.
Have been watching since they were little kids together. They watch it all the time. We took them to Dallas to see it at Majestic Theater there. But when we went to LA, we were determined, he was determined, to find where this place is filmed.
The Good Mythical
Morning
Studios.
Yes.
Very hard to find,
which is very hard to find. But we punched in a few addresses, and somehow
Alex got it from somewhere.
He found it, and the reason he knew what it was because he saw the back alley, and I guess where they go outside and do some filming outside, and so it was kind of obvious the alley that they were at. Anyways, it took us a while to figure this out, but they are huge fans of it. How did you get involved with Good Mythical Morning, and what is it like being on set with Red Link?
Sure. Yeah, so I got involved with Good Mythical Morning during a period of the show where they were like breaking the show out into these like longer segments. Right now, you know, they are a really hilarious daily YouTube show, and they have, you know, it's one kind of primary, you know, kind of video per day with some other kind of little splinter videos, but it's kind of the one primary video. But for a while, they were doing a thing where it would be kind of broken out into segments, a little more like a, you know, traditional late night show. And for that, because they were producing so much more, you know, they had so much more content to produce, they were like hiring some new writers. And I had worked with one of their producers on a Comedy Central show called At Midnight. And he thought I would be, and that show was just ending. I think the news is that it is going to be rebooted, but its original run was wrapping up. So yeah, I was kind of like looking, and he asked me to like, you know, submit a resume, and yeah, and I did, and went into meet with them, and was like, obviously it was like really clear from the get-go that we had a really similar sense of humor. We liked making each other laugh. We kind of liked tagging each other's jokes, and it seemed like a good, just seemed like a good marriage, a good work marriage. So yeah, I hadn't watched a ton of the show before getting the job. I definitely knew their commercials. Kind of Rhett and Link, the guys who do Good Mythical Morning, they started their career making these really, really funny, like weirdo local commercials for like actual businesses. So I knew those because you know, that was a very early viral video. So I was a fan of those, and definitely had like watched some of their videos because of how viral they go. But wasn't like super into like the it wasn't super into their like ecosystem, and didn't know how much they had going on. But yeah, it was just really fun. It was a blast. They it's a very fun work environment, as you might imagine. Everybody is very cool. They hire cool people. And then so when my like contract with them wrapped up, I had a couple other things I wanted to go do. So I kind of told them that like I, you know, love doing the show. I love being part of the family. I have some other stuff that I want to try, but please consider me on call if y'all need me for anything, or you want to like, you know, if you want to like, I can be there a little more short term. And they were really nice about it. They were really nice about saying like, you know, yeah, you're part of the family, you know, go do what these other things you want to do, and we'll like have you back when we can. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to them, and that's kind of where things still are. So yeah, I have some other stuff that I do, but still love like collaborating with them whenever I can.
Okay, so your most famous character on there is Cotton Candy Randy.
Yes.
My childhood best friend and Link's worst nightmare, the all-star of sweets and the champion of creeps, Cotton Candy Randy.
Oh, no. Yes. No.
Here he comes.
Happy Cotton Candy Day, Daddies.
Yep.
Do you want a sweet nothing before we start?
Yep. Yeah, I do. I always do.
I know the parts of your house where the shadows are the darkest.
So he's kind of just this awkward dude that comes on and says really awkward stuff. And it kind of keeps up from there. So where did that character come from?
It came from school play.
Oh, is that
I mean, that's, yeah.
Right. No, so I do not remember whose idea Cotton Candy Randy's was. It certainly was not me. So, you know, Mythical, if you watch the show, you know that there's a real like all hands on deck spirit there. Like it's a real like scrappy, let's put on a show, everybody grab a wig type operation. So a lot of the, you know, characters on the show and the, you know, kind of ancillary players are all just like people who work in the office, which is a really fun aspect of that show. And yeah, since I was just working in the office, they're like, we want to do this thing. It is International Cotton Candy Day today. You know how like on Twitter, people will be like, you know, grab a spoon, it's tomato soup day. And you're like, why is it tomato soup? Who said it's that?
Right.
What do I do?
Yes. Every day is something.
Every day is something. So yeah, so that it was Cotton Candy Day, and they were like, we want to do this thing where there's this like gross Santa. That's how they phrased it. It was like, it's a gross Santa who comes in and celebrates Cotton Candy Day. So yeah, I just kind of like, I'm like, all right, give me the wig. So I did it, and the voice is an impression of a caterer that they had for a while. There was a caterer they had for a while who was just kind of a like delightful weirdo who, to like make each other laugh, we would do an impression of this caterer, but him saying really dark things. So it would be the caterer going like, oh, we have a lovely lemon chicken today, and you know, my wife won't let me see my kids. So it and I just did that voice because I thought it would make people on the crew laugh, because I'm like, that's the caterer. So that kind of is how it started, and then it was just kind of like we had a lot of fun doing it. Some fans liked it, some fans do not like it, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But yeah, it's just kind of been this weird little thing that has, you know, has a group of fans, and it's so fun to do, and love seeing the merch. I love seeing people's tattoos. It's a blast. I honestly love doing it. So
we need to check and see if Alex has a tattoo.
He probably has a
tattoo. Yeah. Okay, so you talk about all the other things you're doing, so let's get into a couple of those things. I didn't know you were writing for Jellystone, which is on HBOmax. The classic Hanna-Barbera characters like, oh gosh, Yogi and Boo Boo and all those people. All those early people, aren't they?
Right. They're icons. They're icons.
You might think they're people.
I do. I try.
Yeah, I see you're wearing a Tom and Jerry shirt there. Are you like a
big cartoon animation guy?
Yeah. So. Nice. Cool.
So tell us about Jellystone and how you got into that. And a big thing I was thinking of is you've got these iconic characters like you talk about. How do you respect what's going on in the past with them, but bring them in to the modern age of now?
Yeah. So Jellystone, I was thrilled to be asked to work on that show. so there are episodes that are on HBOmax now. So the episodes I worked on will be coming out, I think, later this year. You know, keep an eye on your HBOmax app for that. And I was a fan of the first season. I'm, you know, I think like you, I, you know, grew up in a time when those cartoons just got rerun, you know, indefinitely on, you know, Saturday mornings and on cable and stuff like that. So I was so familiar with Yogi and Boo Boo and Squiddly Diddly and Grape Ape and just kind of all these weirdo characters who, you know, existed in syndication. And so I was like thrilled when they did that show, because I thought it was just such a fun use of them. You know, they've got this huge library of characters with like great designs and like fun backstories, and they just kind of made this weirdo, you know, stony comedy show with them. And I thought that was such a great use of them. You know, it wasn't like, you know, trying to make them edgy. It wasn't like, you know, they're not all, you know, smoking weed and drinking, you know, which there maybe is a funny version of that. But I liked that it was in the spirit of those Saturday morning cartoons. Like kids can watch it, adults can watch it. It's just a funny show.
To keep it universal.
Yeah. And I just like thought it was such a great use of them. And then, yeah, an old co-worker of mine, I wrote a bunch of Unikitty on Cartoon Network. It's a Lego movie spinoff. So a old co-worker of mine was working on Jellystone, and they needed some writers for the new season. So they asked me to come aboard, and I was just like, I could not have said yes to anything faster. It was so much fun. Yeah, so we wrote those. Last year. And they're, you know, in the process of getting animated, which takes a long time. But yeah, I can't wait to see them. I'm so excited. And to answer your question about like staying faithful, I think that the showrunner of this is Carl Greenblatt, who's done a bunch of great animated shows over the years. He's done Chowder and Harvey Beaks and a lot of these cool shows that I had really enjoyed in the past. And yeah, his philosophy is just like, make it funny. Just make it funny. Let's make each other laugh. Let's be silly. It doesn't, you know, if there can be some, you know, good values or morals in it, cool. But if not, like, as long as, you know, we're laughing, the audience is probably laughing. And yeah, so I think his philosophy, which I loved, is just like, just make it funny. And, you know, it kind of helps that these are more obscure characters. Like, obviously there are some Jabberjaw fans out there, but you know, they're not so numerous that if you mess with the character, you know, you're going to get review bombed within an inch of your life. So yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, here's a funny kind of character design. If we want to do the old character, cool. But if we have a new idea, that's cool too, you know. I don't think that many people remember Thundar the Barbarian. So if he has a different...
Unfortunately, I do, but...
Thundar. Might be some fun Thundar stuff coming up in the next season. Might be some. Yeah, so yeah, that was kind of just like the vibe and the philosophy, and I just had so much fun with it.
It's kind of funny because I never thought about it. It's almost like, you know, the Marvel universe, but it's like the Hanna-Barbera universe.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Where like you've got all those, you know, forever things that people have known about forever that fit into these certain pockets. But you're right. I mean, there's plenty of that. There's plenty to mess with that people, it's obscure enough that they don't know enough about, except for people like this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have that going, but you also have Archie Comics going.
Yes.
Archie Comics has also been around, gosh, since 1939, I think.
Yeah.
So you've done a project where you're kind of going to the horror side of Archie Comics?
Yeah, so Archie Comics has a great horror line. Some of it's called Archie Horror, and some of it's called Chilling Adventures. Yeah, and it's just this kind of cool thing that they do, where they do these. It's mostly anthologies. Sometimes it's bigger stories and bigger issues, but excuse me, it's mostly anthologies. And yeah, it's just kind of putting those Archie characters into like all of your favorite horror scenarios, and it's just so much fun. And again, it's just something that I was like reading. I'm a big comics reader, and so I was picking up these Archie issues. My mom is a huge Archie fan, so like we had them around the house growing up, and we would get them at the supermarket and stuff like that. So I was like super familiar with these characters and just thought it was so cool that they would do these issues where they die in every one. So yeah, I think they're so fun, and they get like such great artists, and they look beautiful, great covers. It's just such a fun line of comics. And yeah, I was just kind of friendly online with their editor, Jamie Rotante, and she, kind of knew I had done comics, and I had just tried to politely say, I would love to do this. I love these comics. If you ever need anybody, consider me excited to do it. And yeah, eventually she just kind of found the right project for us to work on together. And yeah, that project is Pop's Chocolate Shop of Horrors. It comes out March 22nd. It is 3 spooky stories set in the famous Riverdale diner. And yeah, that should be in comic shops again March 22nd, but you can put in those pre-orders now. Those pre-orders are kind of big for comics, so if it sounds like something you're into, definitely call in that pre-order to your local shop. Yeah, super fun to do, turned out great. It's the artist I worked with is Liana Congas, and like they've got such a great like portfolio of work, and I was such a fan of theirs, and so like it was so like fun to get to work on this.
Yeah, I went onto Twitter and I found some of the cover art and then the inside art, and it looked really cool. It's cool.
It's a beautiful book. It's a ton of fun. It's such a fun thing to be able to like collaborate on.
Yeah. Okay.
Very
So
cool.
I'm like speaking outside the comic book world because that is his. So your pre-order, you call the store. There's no like pre-order online. It's like call the store.
Yeah, I think so if you go onto Previews World, the comics world is still like a little bit obtuse in the way that they do things. It's an old-fashioned business.
Okay.
So you can go on to there. I think they will be selling it on the Archie website, and obviously you can read it digitally, so you can buy it wherever you read digital comics. But I think the like most fun and most surefire way to get to it is just to like call the store or go in and just tell them you want to pre-order Pop's Chocolate Shop of Horrors. That's kind of what I like about comics, is it's still a very like personal, kind of business, and you get to know the people at the shop, and it's a small business in your neighborhood, and there's no big comics chains. So yeah, it's just kind of a fun, it's such a fun little world, and I like how old-fashioned it stayed. So
yeah, and then like you say, that personal human connection. Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell you how many comic book shops we've wandered through together.
It's true.
The relationship goals. That's great.
There are less and less of them.
Yeah.
So you've been so successful on all the social media platforms. What would you tell your 15-year-old self if you were like, hey, this is what, somebody out there that wants to do what you do and loves that creative, like how do you start that? How do you tell them to be involved in social media and keep that fresh?
Oh, yeah, with social media is tough. It's nice of you to say that I've been successful on social media. I don't think I'm great at it. I think in like the early days of Twitter, I definitely like tweeted a lot of like jokes, and had fun doing that. But, obviously it's a very different place now. I was late to Instagram. I only joined Instagram a couple years ago to like promote a graphic novel called Bubble that I did that came out a little while back. And I like have fun with it, but I'm not sure like how to produce content for social media anymore. I'm a little too old for TikTok. I think I'll just, I'll stop at what I've got for now. I think that like, it's such a different, like entertainment is so different now than when I started, and it will keep getting different. Like it will only become more fragmented and stranger as it goes. So, I think I would tell people just starting now to like, just like try and make something that you can put out there yourself, like it doesn't, like maybe it will become something that sustains you. Like maybe it will become a job, but maybe it won't. And even if it doesn't, like having something that you're producing semi-regularly will help you get a job, because like, you know, a lot of jobs start with, you know, an interview where people say, what are you working on? And if you don't have anything, that's not great, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of like stuff you can do. So I think just like, I would say, find what you think you can do well. Is it a podcast? Is it TikTok videos? Is it reviews? Is it Twitch streaming? Is it, you know, filming sketches and putting them up? Is it, you know, funny movie reviews? It's just like finding what you think you do well and what you like doing, and just like doing it regularly. And then I think that's a pretty like good first step to, you know, making a career, or, you know, at the very least, like having fun with creativity.
Getting that creative out, yeah.
Nice.
I think that's so smart. So I think like in the world of like duets on TikTok, everybody's doing those, you know, that like having that original content that is just you know, is like valuable.
Yeah.
And getting that content out. And then of course we all know posting regularly is like the big deal.
Yeah, definitely. Like with the world of podcasting, like so much of like making a podcast work in the early days is like consistency. Just put it out on Tuesday every week, or, you know, put it out on the third Thursday of every month. And yeah, just like start there.
Yeah,
see what happens.
That's right.
Yep.
I mean, we have to go because we have to go to our local comic book shop so we can
we
got to get our
Pop's chocolate shop of horrors.
You must pre-order. Yes.
Oh yeah, we got to dip real quick. So we thank you so much for joining us today. Again, our son Alex is going to be over the moon, and his
nice, cool.
They couldn't believe that we were talking to you today. They think we're so much cooler now, and so do we. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for you and read this new comic book.
Thanks. Yeah, this was fun. That
was a fascinating interview. Creative people, they just blow my mind.
Yeah, it's so fun to talk to creative because they're always thinking outside the box.
Right. People, you know, honestly, me growing up, people have said, you're so creative. And then I sit next to you and I'm like, not really, because Scott is so creative. And then you talk to somebody like Jordan Morrison and you're like,
I'm not very creative. You know what I mean?
Like, there's always a group of people you're more creative than and less creative.
There's always someone that's more creative. So.
And everybody's minds just work so incredibly different. But let's tell them about the time in LA when we went and found where Good Mythical Morning is filmed.
Okay, and we mentioned that with Jordan, and he seemed kind of shocked that we knew where this place was.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid we're going to be arrested or something, but I'll tell you the story. We're not going to be arrested?
We're not going to divulge any information.
Okay, we're not going to give away any secrets at all.
No, secret's safe with us.
That's right. But we did find the Good Mythical Morning Studios.
We still don't know how, actually, because
we don't know. Our youngest son, Alex, in the back seat of our rental car said, I think I know where it's at. We tried 2 or 3 locations. And in the middle of our son's researching in the back seat, I found Laurel and Hardie's old home.
Oh, that's right.
Right, Oliver Hardie's home. And I enjoyed that. No, I don't think anyone else.
Nobody did.
Really, yeah. I took a picture. It was great for me.
It was awesome for you. Nobody else knows who that is.
They're comedians from the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Exactly.
So, yes, exactly. So it was me vamping for time because we felt like we were close in Burbank, but we didn't really know where to go. We'd gone to 2 or 3 spots, wasn't it? I think we actually went by their warehouse where they have all their products for sale.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's the first place we went.
Right.
So out of the back seat, Alex is like, I think I know where it's at. And we're like, Alex, how'd you find this out? And he says, I can't tell you.
He still won't tell us.
He won't tell us.
Not even today.
Like even before we walked in, I'm like, will you tell us how you found this? I can't tell you, Dad.
Tell us.
So apparently, I don't know if the mafia's involved or what's going on there. There's some secret agency.
He's the what do they call him? Chamber of Secrets.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
So we ride up to this building. It's a totally nondescript office building. No signage, darkened windows.
Very darkened windows.
Like we're thinking, okay, this is it, but we have no proof. So Rebecca, you parked on the corner. You parked on the curb as our getaway car in case we needed to get out of there fast. And we walked around the corner just to see in the back alley because on Good Mythical Morning, they do a lot of stuff in the back alley when they need to be outside. So we know there's like this zebra print wall that they're always in front of. So that was going to be our clue of this is the right place. So we get around to this wrought iron gate that you can see through, and we see down this alleyway the zebra wall.
That's right. That's when you knew you'd hit gold.
We felt like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And we had just gotten through all the obstacles to find the treasure.
Right.
It was like Christmas morning.
Yeah. But it was also like a Saturday or something. So
well, it was the Saturday before Christmas. So
right. So
I don't think anything
everything
was,
was empty. Like
right.
nothing was there. Nobody was really there.
So now that we know we're there, we go around to the windows and we're trying to look in.
Yeah.
So it was so dark you cupped your hands and you couldn't see anything.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm just gonna throw my phone up there and rest it against the glass. I do that. And
take a picture. Yeah.
I did take a picture, but we will never share those on social
No.
media. Just want Rhett and Link to know
Yeah.
that. And it's the Good Mythical logo in their waiting room.
But you couldn't see it until you looked at the picture.
Right.
You couldn't see it with your hands up.
Right.
I mean, it's
That's
like
how
an
dark it
illusion.
was.
It's almost
Yeah.
like an illusion. It was crazy.
So we took a picture of that. Then I went down to another window, and when I put my phone next to the glass, you could see the kitchen where they do all their kitchen stuff and make the crazy
So
foods they eat.
crazy.
So we were just like kids in a candy store,
Right.
in a cotton candy Randy store. And
nice.
then Jake's like, I got to try it. There was a button, intercom button on the door. It didn't look like anybody was there. Like it was totally dark. But Jake a couple times pushed the button
Yeah.
and said, hello, hello. And nobody answered.
Nobody answered.
But I think Rhett and Link have us on security video trying to break into the place.
Probably. You can never go back to Burbank again.
Right. I totally understand why they don't give their address, because you would have crazy people like us trying to find
Yeah,
you.
totally crazy.
We even thought, hey, let's go back a couple days later and see if they're recording, but we didn't go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You guys were insane. I was glad my skill set is the getaway car, and that's
Right.
I stayed in my lane.
Yeah, you did.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this interview with Jordan Morse. We thought it was fascinating. If you're big Rhett and Link fans, and even if you're not, you're gonna love Cotton Candy Randy. Thanks for listening. Hardy Party 5 and a half, over and out.
We'll see you next time.